everybody, this is Rabbitearsblog, and welcome to my movie review series. Today's movie review was requested to me by Newwaytoofeelthepain, and you can check out their channel in the description box below. Now on to the review. The Swan Princess was an animated film made in 1994, and was based on the ballet Swan Lake. It was also directed by former Disney animation director Richard Rich, and starred the voice talents of John Cleese, Stephen Wright, and Sandy Duncan. This film also had 4 direct-to-video sequels, but we'll talk about those in another review. This film was also known for bombing at the box office, due to competing with other movies such as The Lion King, Pulp Fiction, Miracle on 34th Street, and The Santa Claus, but managed to retain a cult following for many years. Now, before I get into what I liked and hated about this film, I would like to give out a brief summary of this film. The film starts off with King William, Princess Odette's father, and Queen Roberta, Prince Derek's mother, trying to unite their kingdoms by having their children be betrothed to each other at a young age. At first, Derek and Odette hated each other, but as time passed by, they grew to love each other as adults, and Derek then arranges for the marriage to be held. Unfortunately, when Odette tried to ask Derek why he loves her, and the only answer Derek could give her was because she was beautiful and nothing else, this causes Odette to break off their marriage. However, things get worse for the two lovers when Rothbart, an evil enchanter who early on plotted to take over King William's kingdom, ended up killing King William and kidnapped Odette in order to force her to marry him. Not only that, but Rothbart had cursed Odette into being a swan during the day, and she can only temporarily turn back into a human again at night once she's under the moonlight at Swan Lake. Now it's up to Derek to rescue Odette, while discovering how to truly confess his feelings of love to Odette. I have been watching this movie ever since I was a child, or more to the point, ever since it first came out, and I was amazed at how the film was trying to uphold the elements that made the Disney Renaissance age for animation during the 90s stand out. Now, some of the criticisms that I heard about this movie were that it tried too hard to be like the Disney animated films during the 90s, when it was actually distributed by Turner Home Entertainment. Well, seeing how the Disney animated films fared during the 90s, in other words being completely successful, I can't blame this movie for trying to follow the trend. However, at the same time, even though this film has borrowed elements from various Disney animated films, the two main characters fall in love, one of the characters is either in prison or under a spell, and the main characters will encounter a group of cute and funny sidekicks, it manages to be his own film without relying too heavily on the Disney formula to tell a story. What I really enjoyed about this movie were the songs themselves, as they were clearly beautiful and memorable to listen to. Some of my favorite songs in this film were This Is My Idea, which was basically the first song in the film that described Derek and Odette's first meeting of each other and how their relationship developed over the years. I love the fact that this song showed that Derek and Odette's relationship had to develop naturally, instead of the two main characters instantly falling in love with each other, despite only knowing each other for one day, because it made the relationship more believable, and it was quite enjoyable seeing Derek and Odette fight each other up until they were adults. Far Longer Than Forever is the beautiful ballad between Derek and Odette, as they long for each other after Odette is kidnapped by Rothbart, and I love the animation being done in the scene, as it made this musical number even more heartwarming. No More Mr. Nice Guy is the villain song for Rothbart, which is shown in a jazzy and colorful way that strongly contrasts the threatening nature of Rothbart, but manages to be entertaining at the same time, as I love the pop cultural references that was littered throughout this song. Another song that I also enjoyed was a pop song sang by the famous pop group Dreams Come True, which was called Eternity, and it really fit the beautiful tone in this film, and it would definitely compete with any animated film for most beautiful love ballad. Now, I would like to discuss about the characters in this film. I love the character of Odette herself, as she was shown as being the strong and kind-hearted heroine of the story, and was willing to do whatever it takes to have Derek confess his love for her and to help him break the spell placed on her. I really enjoyed the way that Odette took action in trying to save herself from Rothbart, because it shows that she is a truly independent and strong-willed character. I also love the animated sequences of Odette turning to a swan, as the water swirls around her as she begins to change, and that sequence was so beautifully animated that it took my breath away. Derek was another character that I eventually warmed up to as the film progressed. I will admit that I was a little annoyed by Derek's shallowness and expressing his true feelings for Odette at the beginning of the film, but I love the way that the film addresses this, and managed to have Derek develop his character over the course of the film. I love the fact that Derek was determined to get Odette back at all costs, as it shows how much he really cares for her. even if he didn't know how to express that love. Another group of characters that I really enjoyed were the psychic characters, which consists of John Bob, the prudent frog, who is voiced by John Cleese, Speedy the wise turtle, who is voiced by Stephen Wright, and Puffin the courageous puffin bird, who is voiced by Steve Vinovich. Sure, they may not be as memorable sidekicks as, say, Lumiere and Cosworks from Beauty and the Beast, or Sebastian Flounder from The Little Mermaid, but they bring so much humor to the movie, and I love their interactions with Odette as they all try to help her break the curse placed upon her. Rothbart was a great villain in this film, as he was the one who placed the curse upon Odette, and it was great seeing him be so manipulative and conniving in trying to make sure that Prince Derek doesn't break the spell, since it made him into a more formidable villain. Now, the only problem that I had with this film was that I felt that some of the characterizations of the characters were a bit too flat. For example, while I love the fact that Derek spent most of the film trying to rescue Odette, I would have loved to see scenes of Derek actually witnessing Odette's kindness towards her friends and her courage in standing up to Rothbart. This is probably one of the reasons why I wish that the film was a bit longer, so that way it would firmly establish the development that the characters are going through without missing too many important elements that would add to those developments. I also would have loved to see Rothbart be a bit more threatening as a villain, since while there were moments where Rothbart was very manipulative and assertive enough to know about Derek trying to rescue Odette and break the spell, there were also moments that I couldn't take him seriously, since he would switch between being threatening and being a tad goofy at times. Now, before I wrap up this review, here's a little discussion question for everyone. Do you think that Odette was in the right for not marrying Derek in the first place because she wanted to see if he could prove his love for her? Now, I know some people would think, what the heck, Odette? Why would you break up your marriage to Derek when he was willing to marry you? But for me personally, I think she did the right thing in breaking off her marriage to Derek in the first half of the film, because if I was in that situation and I was about to get married, I would want to know if my husband loved me not only for my looks, but for my personality and for just being myself. This movie was basically trying to discuss about how sometimes it's hard for couples to say how they really feel about each other, both man and woman, even though they really care for each other, and that was Derek's predicament in this film. It's obvious that Derek loves Odette, but doesn't really know how to voice his love for her without just stating that only her beauty really matters, when there's really more to it than that. I really like the fact that the movie was able to tackle the subject, since it made the characters' situations even more believable, and it's basically telling you what not to do in an attempt to declare your love for someone, or at least one variation of this situation. So what are your opinions on this issue? Please feel free to voice your opinions below. Overall, I give the Swan Princess an 8 out of 10. Even though I took off a few points for the characters not having enough dimensions to their personalities, I admire this movie for its memorable songs and tackling a subject, which is couples trying to say how they really feel to each other, that is rarely shown in many romantic movies, with such tact. The animation was gorgeous for its time, and it really made the movie stand out, and I honestly believe that this movie was on par with many of the Disney films that came out during that decade. Well, that's my movie review on the Swan Princess, and be sure to check out more of my videos in the near future. I'm Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you later.